On this edition of Campus Report, a new grant helps Hispanic women who are diagnosed with breast cancer to navigate through the healthcare system.
And a new study released shows that the New Mexico film industry is bringing the state more money than originally thought.
Hello everyone, I'm Frank Morganti.
And I'm Sarah Flores. All this and more on this edition of Campus Reports.
Local coverage. Student perspectives. At the University of New Mexico, from the KNME studios, this is Campus Report.
Breast cancer can be a life-changing diagnosis for any woman, but many Hispanic and Latino women in New Mexico find it hard to face alone. Now there's a new pilot program that gives sister-like support to get them through this hard time. Nikka Peralta has more.
UNM's Comadre a Comadre program was recently awarded a $54,000 grant from the Con Alma Foundation for a pilot peer mentor program in hopes of helping Hispanic and Latina women who have been diagnosed with breast cancer.
Comadre a Comadre program director, Dr. Elba Saavedra, explains how the process works and what it really means to be a comadre.
We would be following the woman and meeting the women at the actual clinic of their sort of where they were diagnosed, and introducing ourselves and having a navigator, a peer mentor, who is a comadre who is trained through the program.
Saavedra explains that in the Hispanic Latino culture, the word comadre embodies true friendship between women.
Culturally, the word that symbolized what they are going to be there for another woman, a true friendship, a woman that you would tell everything that you feel, even if you're not feeling good, or things about even your own feelings about familia, and that they would hold that, in confidence, and that would be there for you.
Diane Rivera, program officer with the Con Alma Health Foundation, explains that there are many reasons why UNM was chosen for the grant.
The Comadre a Comadre program fits our vision and mission very well. It provides services to an underrepresented population. It has potential for growing statewide, and it is also part of the UNM Foundation so that we can fund through the foundation.
Rivera says this type of program is critical for Latina women.
Because those women generally don't follow up with a doctor recommendation, whether it be out of fear, whether it be out of inability to access, they may not have medical insurance, they may not even start understanding the medical terminology.
The Breast and Cervical Cancer Program here at the First Choice Community Healthcare Clinic will be working in close conjunction with the Comadre a Comadre program.
Ana Quiros, case manager for the Breast and Cervical Cancer Program with the First Choice Community Healthcare Clinic, says the partnership will help society as a whole.
We are going to be a society that is healthy. We need to work in prevention programs and screening programs, not just when the patient is very ill, or it goes when she's very sick, when it's too late.
The Comadre a Comadre program hopes that this peer pilot project with the grant money will continue to further people's education, not only in the Hispanic and Latina communities, but in all communities around New Mexico as well. This is Nikka Peralta.
Media consumption among teenagers today amounts to nearly 1/3 of the day, resulting in a variety of influences. Yet one representative in Santa Fe is trying to change that.
Here at the Roundhouse in Santa Fe, many important laws go through. Recently, Representative Antonio Maestas from the west side of Albuquerque introduced new legislation that would give students something to think about.
It's a very important bill. It's House Bill 342, the media literacy bill in middle schools and high schools. What it does is mandate that every middle school and every high school in the state of New Mexico offer, as part of its curriculum, a media literacy course, a semester course in media literacy, so that every single teenager in New Mexico can take it as an elective.
Representative Maestas wrote this legislation in part because teenagers on average consume about 6 to 9 hours of media a day.
When I suggest media, we're talking television commercials, internet, webcasts, billboards, magazines, radio, imagery. And so this influences what they think of the world, what they think of themselves. Media literacy courses will help them to better analyze, dissect, and interpret these media messages.
Gene Grant is the host of KNME's weekly show, The Line, and has played several roles in the creation of media. He says the bill is a good idea and could even help parents.
The problem is we've been in this place where we've talked about parental control, which has been obviously a big failure because parents can't always be there to screen what they watch with their kids, or even pre-screen. It's just not a possibility.
Representative Maesta says that this bill will give teenagers the needed tools to make the right decisions about media when their parents can't be there.
But we cannot change that. We cannot change the First Amendment. We cannot outlaw advertising or attempts to market certain products, but what we can do is train our young people to be in a better position to analyze, interpret those messages, to be smarter consumers and stronger human beings in the 21st century.
As a media-producing state in the 21st century, Gene Grant says that we have a responsibility to lead the way in media literacy.
You know, we consider ourselves a creative movie-making, television show-making state. We're part of that machinery that puts out imagery. That kids have to wind through, and I think it would serve us well to be part of that solution as well as part of the machinery that makes imagery. I think that's an appropriate role for New Mexico.
The bill has passed the Consumer Affairs Committee, and now it goes on to the Education Committee. After that, it will go on to the House. If successful there, it will go through to the Senate. Representative Maesta says that if they can get it to the governor's desk, he's confident the governor will sign it. Gene Grant says the bill should go through without a problem.
I think this is a great project, and I think this is a great bill, and I hope the people in Santa Fe see the rightness of it. I don't see how it could be terribly controversial, you know what I mean? Like, what's the problem with doing this, right? I mean, there's no downside, it seems to me.
As of right now, that bill still has yet to go through the House.
As the economic recession continues to put a tight grip on Americans' wallets, it's also affected another portion of their lives, their health. Dan Martinez reports on how Americans that have put off seeing a doctor can show how it affects them in the long run.
As Americans feel the pinch of cash during tough economic times, families are faced with the tough decision of where to spend their money. German Eison is one of the many Americans faced with making financial cuts to help stay afloat.
I mean, now I just had a kid, so for me it's very important to save as much as I can. Man, it's important nowadays.
But as bank accounts continue to dwindle, some are deciding to cut back on taking care of their health, an alarming new trend that has many health professionals worried about future consequences.
In the last 6 months, it's really picked up, and people aren't coming in, people aren't as compliant with the suggestions that we recommend and such as that. They really just want to do the minimal basic stuff.
According to the American Hospital Association, of the 78 hospitals polled, 31% have seen a decrease in patients seeking elective procedures, and 38% of hospitals have seen a decrease in overall patients last year. Director of Public and Government Relations at Presbyterian Hospital, Todd Sandman, says there are many other contributing factors, like a late flu season, that can affect those numbers, but he says a stumbling economy is still playing a factor.
Obviously the economy matters, but so do other factors. Like flu season. So we're really trying to look at all of the data, all the numbers we're seeing.
The trend is also crossing into other health fields like dentistry. Over the past few months, Assistant Professor of Dental Hygiene Elaine Sanchez-Dills has seen changes in the way patients are dealing with extra procedures.
And we're seeing actually a lot of people not wanting to pay out of pocket for anything. So the numbers of patients that we're seeing is actually declining slightly, as well as their willingness to want to pay for certain procedures.
What's worrying health professionals most is the possible long-term effects of patients delaying procedures.
And those are more costly visits, and they're more dangerous to your personal health. And so we do worry about people who are delaying preventative care.
The Obama administration is working towards universal health care for the country, but Dill says it won't have much effect on the dental field for a long time.
And a lot of people don't consider dental to be true medicine, which is kind of, to me, funny and ironic, but so I have the feeling that if we went to universal health care, it would predominantly hit the medical system first, meaning MDs and physicians and such as that, and then come into dentistry later.
What has Sandman and other hospital officials worried is the amount of bad debt that hospitals are accumulating by patients not paying their deductibles. He says if the trend doesn't change soon, some hospitals may have to go to cost-saving measures. Reporting outside the Presbyterian Administration Center, this is Dan Martinez.
People aren't the only ones being affected by this tough economy. Even man's best friend is feeling the ripple effects. Reporter Melissa Wike went to Lucky Paws at Coronado Mall to gather the details.
People aren't the only ones dealing with the downfall of the economy. Albuquerque's shelter animals are as well. With some people barely being able to feed themselves, adopting a pet seems to be the last thing on their lists. Manager of the Lucky Paws Adoption Center in Coronado Mall, Michelle King, says that the shelter has definitely seen a decrease in outgoing adoptions, but is seeing an increase in something even more disheartening.
We have seen a decrease, but what we have seen in increases is people owner surrendering their animals because of the economy. They can barely afford to feed themselves. It's a snowball effect.
But shelters across Albuquerque have yet to see a decrease in people volunteering their time. Michelle says that with many people losing their jobs, volunteering has become a popular option for the unemployed.
There have been people that have stepped up to the plate to volunteer because they have time on their hands. So I don't think that they're not volunteering as much as you would think. Because now that people have time on their hands, they're trying to figure out what to do.
Volunteer Dave Smith says that Lucky Paws has recently taken a few extra steps to make sure that people looking to adopt are financially able to care for the animal.
One of the staff members that will do a little bit of counseling, and they will make sure that they are capable. They ask certain questions and they make sure that they're capable of actually taking care of that pet.
Because many Albuquerque residents aren't able to feed themselves, let alone their animals, the storehouse on 106 Broadway is able to provide food for people and their pets.
Can go down and pre-qualify, and it helps them with food for themselves and for the animals. And at all 3 locations we have barrels set up, so people coming in from the outside, if they want to donate food, they come once a week, pick up the food. So now we're helping feed the animals.
This is Melissa Wike reporting.
New Mexico's music scene has many different genres and thousands of different musicians, but Ryan Montaño has sat down with local bassist Donny Tesso, who has not only toured internationally, but maintaining his roots here in Albuquerque.
Donny, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Okay, the first thing I want to start off and ask you is, why bass?
Pretty easy for me. I just always was gravitated to the sound of the low frequencies, I guess it is. And my dad, his bass player, when I was a really little kid, he'd leave his guitar there in the living room, and I'd play it and just always loved the sound of the low tones. And then all the music of my era kind of evolved around bass, you know, and it was just, everybody was bobbing their heads and stomping their feet, and it was usually the bass was making them do that, and I just always loved it and still do to this day, and I don't have any interest in playing anything else.
Awesome. Well, what age would you say, or when was that moment when you were playing bass and you decided, you know what, I got some skill? What, you know, what made you decide to become a professional?
Oh gosh, you know, probably, you know, pre-teens. I mean, you know, 11, 12 years old. I playing for, you know, church benefits and school functions, and some of my dad's musician friends, older guys, were saying, hey Freddie, you know, that son of yours is going to be something else, and you know, he'd be telling me that kind of stuff, and it was an inspiration to hear it from veterans, you know.
Okay, well, you and I know, we both know that you're not very good, but you've managed to fool a lot of people.
I know.
One of them being, is this your Ken Smith bass?
Ken Smith bass,
and you're
yes.
like, how did you get those endorsements? I mean, for those of you who don't know, an endorsement is a huge deal to, you know, because they hook you up with basses, they hook you up with magazine articles. How did you get those endorsements?
Well, you know what, it was a goal of mine, but I figured in order to get these endorsements, you have to kind of be something, be someone, be something, be visible. And I knew I was already a, you know, pretty decent musician, but I wanted to pursue it further. And for me to get these endorsements, it was just a matter of contacting, you know, the front office of, you know, Ken Smith Basses and Lakeland Basses in Chicago. I ended up talking to Ken Smith himself when I called. And I think what really helped me was when I submitted my information, where I play, how long I've been playing, who I play for. I think the fact that I'm Latino, you know, of Spanish heritage, I think that helped because, you know, there wasn't that many on their roster. Both companies.
Okay,
so,
great.
You know.
So we'll see what you got. Do a little demonstration.
Okay, I'll just do a little few pieces of different things.
Go for it.
Okay.
Go for it. Thank you so much for coming to do this interview.
Thank you for having me.
Many New Mexicans have been excited about the state's booming film industry in the last 6 years, but two studies contradict each other over how much money the state actually receives from the productions. In this report, Adrian Doerfler examines whether the state tax incentive plans that attract filmmakers are really working.
A study released by Ernst & Young accounting firm has New Mexico film industry supporters taking a sigh of relief. In a previous study by New Mexico State University's Arrowhead Center, only 14 cents on the dollar of state money was recovered from the film incentive program. The new Ernst & Young study, however, states that for every dollar spent, the state receives $1.50 in return. Eric Witt, Governor Richardson's deputy chief of staff, says the state study looked at only a few types of direct returns and did not take into account everything that a film brings to the community.
The NMSU study that was done by the Arrowhead Center was very narrowly focused on a very specific part of the film industry. It was never intended to be a comprehensive study. The Ernst & Young study, on the other hand, tried to capture as much of the true effects of the film industry and the economy in New Mexico.
Director of the New Mexico Film Office, Lisa Strout, who also helped lead the way for the Ernst & Young study with financial assistance from the State Investment Council, says taking local businesses that benefited from a production into account was just one aspect that the NMSU study failed to incorporate.
We did a survey of all the unions and guilds in New Mexico, all the businesses, but also the non-film businesses like hotels, rent-a-car companies, lumber yards, all the folks that are very much affected by the film industry. And, you know, our numbers are quite different. Okay. We also look at the effects of tourism, because film tourism is its own, it's an effect that is well documented throughout the world.
The film industry went under some heat from some state lawmakers because of the results that stemmed from the NMSU study. But the new study has given film professionals, such as Albuquerque Studios Chief Operating Officer Nick Smarigan, a renewed confidence in the state's programs.
One of the basic problems that we have as a major provider in this industry here is that there isn't a lot of accurate information being relayed to the senators and representatives in the state, throughout the state. And our job now is to focus on giving them the correct information so that they can better understand the industry and understand what it means to their citizens and their constituents and how those people are benefiting from it all the way down to the very last man on the totem pole.
Even though the NMSU study disappointed many, Strout says it has not hurt or slowed the state's film industry.
If anything, I think this is a period of time when we just want to stay steady through this economic period and probably just continue to grow with the tools that we have right now. But the interesting thing is, in this economic downturn, this is an industry that tends to grow because people need distraction.
Right.
You look at where the movie business really took off was the Great Depression. People want to go to the movies. They don't want to go to something too dark or edgy, but they want, you know, escapism, comedy, stuff like that. So those numbers are up. Nice. So this is one of the only bright lights right now in this really tough economic time.
The Ernst & Young study opened lawmakers' eyes, and the future is bright for the New Mexico film industry, yet convincing everyone of the benefits still has to be done. This is Adrian Doerfler reporting.
With March Madness coming into full swing and other winter sports wrapping up, reporter Eric Esparza takes a look at what's in store for the UNM baseball team.
Springtime is here, the weather is warm, and America's greatest pastime is underway. That's right, it's baseball season. And this year, UNM Lobo baseball is turning heads and playing up to potential. In head coach Ray Birmingham's second year at the helm, UNM baseball has started this season with high expectations and tons of excitement.
Coach Birmingham is great. He's the one that made last year such a great season, and it's just going to get better from now on.
Last season, UNM just missed winning the division to advance to the College World Series in Omaha, Nebraska. And this year, Birmingham and his coaching staff's winning solution is pitching, pitching, and more pitching.
Coach Tidwell's doing a great job.
He's helped the pitching staff, and we're focusing on pitching. Pitching wins championships.
And pitching isn't UNM's only secret to success. The Lobo lineup is anchored by All-American catcher Rafael Neda and former Manzano High standout Brian Cavazos Galvez. But these two sluggers have recently taken a back seat to newcomers like Ryan Honeycutt.
He's our best power hitter right now. I know what he can do. He's got great potential. That kid's got big-time potential with a bat.
In their first 10 games, the Lobos posted an 8-2 record, including a 22-1 hitting clinic over Texas A&M Corpus Christi. This season, Lobo baseball will face top-tier teams like Arizona, Texas A&M, and Stanford in their quest to Omaha. District play for the Lobos starts March 13th against Air Force at Isotopes Park.
Hi, I'm here with Eric Esparza, who is a sports reporter here for Campus Reports. Hi, Eric. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
Good. So, how does Lobo baseball look this year?
Well, Lobo baseball looks really tough this year. I think that they're going to go to the College World Series, as a matter of fact. They started the season so far at 9-2. They're just coming straight off a victory against New Mexico State. The score was 7-2 in Las Cruces. And there's big players that are stepping up this year.
So who are the top hitters this year?
Well, former Manzano standout Brian Cavazos Galvez, and catcher, he's actually from Mexico. His name is Rafael Neda. Yeah, he's doing excellent this year. And they also got another homegrown guy in Ryan Honeycutt, and he's out of Las Cruces High in Las Cruces. And he's just on fire right now. He's batting .489. And if anybody knows anything in the baseball world, that's excellent.
So what is your prediction for Lobo baseball this year?
I think that they're going to go to the College World Series. I think that they're going to finish with their best season in the history of Mountain West play.
And briefly, who has been the most impressive on the mound so far?
For me, I think all of them have done great so far, but there's quality pitchers on UNM's team.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So have you ever played baseball, Frank?
Well, since at birth I've been legally blind, so I really couldn't hit that ball even if it was on a tee. But I always did root for the Minnesota Twins. But seriously, I think this team is going to do great because Coach Birmingham has really made an impact on it.
Yes, they do. Sure seems like they're ready for some tough competition.
I think you're right.
For Frank Morganti, I'm Sarah Flores. This is Campus Reports.